everyone, welcome to another episode on It's a Learning Life for Real. I'm Tamika, and today we're talking about time management, or is it life management? Stick around and you'll find out. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome again. I'm so happy you decided to join me. Here on It's a Learning Life for Real, I use my experiences as a learning and organizational development professional to share insights and tips that you can use as you journey towards your personal growth and professional development. Before we get started, remember to hit like and subscribe so you never miss a video whenever I upload one. So let's get started. So we've all heard the saying, time waits for no man or woman, or time is money. And both of these statements underscore the importance of time as one of the most valuable resources we have, and also one of the scarcest or most finite resources we have. We all get 365 days of the year, 24 hours in a day. Yet most of us struggle to meet all the demands that are placed upon us, the competing priorities. We struggle in meeting the different demands of the different roles we have, in maintaining relationships, meeting work priorities, developing or investing in ourselves, taking care of ourselves, and also meeting those pressing work priorities. Time management or life management remains a struggle for a lot of us. So today in this video, I want to talk to you about how you spend your time. We're going to use the time management matrix to get a better understanding of where we spend our time, how you spend your time. So the time management matrix offers us a really valuable tool that we can use to look at how it is that we're spending our time. According to the time management matrix, most of what we do can be grouped into two categories: urgent and important. Let us look at the difference between things that are considered urgent and the things that are considered important. The things that are considered important are the things that are related to your personal and professional mission and goals that you have set for yourself. Examples of which could include your productivity goals, the things that you believe are important to you in your job for you to get done. They could include your family, they could include your different values, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, the things that are considered urgent are usually those pressing priorities that require your immediate attention. And typically, the things that are considered urgent, they are as a result of the environment and the things happening around you. So they could be that pressing telephone call. It could be somebody walking into your office. It could be somebody else's problem, or somebody asking you to help them with something that they need to get done. So there's a big difference between the things that are considered important and the things that are considered urgent. So having established the difference between important and urgent, these two categories can be broken down further into four quadrants. Quadrant 1, which is urgent and important. Quadrant 2, important but not urgent. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. And Quadrant 4, not important, not urgent. And I'm going to talk through what each of the different quadrants look like. And as I talk about the different quadrants, I want you to be thinking about, where do you spend most of your time? Do you spend most of your time in Quadrant 1, which is important and urgent? Or do you spend most of your time in Quadrant 2, things that are important and not urgent? Quadrant 3, things that are neither urgent, that are urgent but not important. And Quadrant 4, and I hope I won't say anything about that. And Quadrant 4, the things that are not urgent and not important. Where do you spend most of your time? I want you to be thinking about that, because the goal for this particular section of the video is that as you think about where you spend your time, the majority of your time, you may walk away with some insights about some changes that you might make, need to make to manage your life in a more effective way. So in Quadrant 1, here's where you're going to find the pressing problems, those work deadlines that you have to meet as a part of just getting your job done and being effective at your job. It is fighting fires, it's crisis crisis management, it's like I said, things that you can't afford to ignore, but at the same time, they are also things that you need to do now. And you don't want to spend a lot of time in quadrant one, because if you're spending too much time constantly on a day-to-day basis dealing with things that require your immediate attention and also are super important, what it means is that you're always fighting fires or you're always operating in crisis mode. And I don't know about you, but if I were to every single day turn up at work or even in my personal life, be put in a place where I feel like I'm always fighting fires, there's always something to be done, always something important that needs my attention now, I'm sure what that would do is that it would lead to increased levels of stress, increased levels of anxiety, increased levels of burnout, and of course, all of that just impacts your mental well-being, your mental health very negatively, and your overall well-being would suffer. So even though we recognize that there are activities that are going to always fall in your urgent and important category, we don't want to spend too much time hanging out in quadrant one, which is where everything is always important and very always urgent. And this is not to say that some of us don't work in high pressure environments where you're always on the go and there's always something going. Lots of us have to work on the pressure from time to time. We have tight deadlines. You have to be responsive to the customer's needs. Something may just come out. You may get a call from a supervisor or perhaps one of your direct reports, and you have to respond to that immediately. Or if you're in customer facing roles and you have a customer that has an emergency and you have to address it, or just perhaps a difficult customer, we know you're going to have those instances. What we're saying is that activities that are both urgent and important are a part of our everyday lives, but you don't want to spend too much time hanging out in quadrant one, constantly responding to crisis. What it means is that other people's agenda hijack what you need to do, and your own agenda, your own goals get either sacrificed or shoved to the bottom. Don't spend too much time in quadrant one, aka the important and urgent quadrant. Quadrant two is the quadrant where we have things that are important but not urgent. So the things that are in this area contribute towards your overall well-being and the quality of your life. However, because the items that are placed in this area, or the activities that are usually associated with in this area, because they are not considered urgent, in a lot of instances we tend to neglect them. So self-care, a lot of us neglect our self-care until something happens to us and we're forced to take care of ourselves. And we don't want to be in a situation where we neglect the things that are important because they're not urgent. Because in a lot of instances, we spend so much time in quadrant one with the things that are urgent and important, that the things that are important, such as your health, we neglect it because you can never find time to exercise. There's never the right time to improve on your nutrition. There's never enough time to sleep. There's never enough time to spend with your loved ones because you have deadlines and things that you need to do. And over time, if we don't manage this area well, then it leads to bigger and rippling effects in terms of the quality of our lives. Because again, if you're not spending time taking care of your relationships, whether they be with your children, with your family, and with your loved ones, then those are going to break down. And the cost associated with those are going to be much worse in terms of your overall well-being and happiness and satisfaction with your life. So again, the danger of the things in quadrant two is that they may not be urgent, but they're important. And when you neglect them, they end up having bigger ramifications, or the costs associated with them are much steeper in the long run. If you don't invest in your development, the skills that you have may become outdated and you might not be able to adapt and be successful and productive and effective at work. So, and if it is that you're not saving for your future, if you're not planning for your retirement, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to realize that you certainly don't have 20 or 25 years to plan for your retirement, and you probably don't have enough money to take care of yourself in retirement. So the activities that you'll find in quadrant two are responsible or directly relate to the quality of life that you want to achieve and live, and the extent to which you neglect them can come back to haunt you in the long run. So like for example, Diabetes is one of those lifestyle diseases that, except for if you have some kind of hereditary condition where it's passed down to you, in a lot of instances, diabetes and other lifestyle diseases such as hypertension can be avoided. And you might know that it's important. We all know that it's important for us to exercise, to try eat a balanced diet, to sleep, to take care of ourselves, and so on and so forth. And in some instances, because we're healthy and we think we're doing well, we don't sleep long enough. I'm guilty. We don't pay attention to our nutrition, we don't exercise, and so on and so forth. And one day, before you know it, you might go for your regular screening at the end of a year, and the doctor tells you, hey, you are pre-diabetic or something like that. And then suddenly, this thing that was just important but not urgent becomes both urgent and important, because you have to get your act together in terms of your nutrition. You might have to lose weight, you may have to change your diet, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is, we don't want to neglect this area because the things are important and not urgent. Because though they may be important and not urgent at one time, they can turn around and become both urgent and important. So pay attention to the things that are in quadrant 2. The people who spend their time in this quadrant tend to be prioritizers, because they consciously choose to pay attention to the things that really contribute to the overall quality and their satisfaction with their lives. So now we're on to quadrant 3. So I don't know if, as you've listened to quadrant 1, the things that are urgent and important, and quadrant 2, the things that are important but not urgent, where do you think you spend your time? I want you to be thinking about that as I go on to share the next 2 quadrants. And the third quadrant I'm going to share are the things that are urgent but not important. And this quadrant is also called the quadrant of self-deception, because if you're not careful, it's easy to spend most of your time in quadrant 3, where you are responding to things that require your immediate attention. But when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of your big picture, they're really not so important. These are the activities that you probably should be saying no to. These are the activities that you probably should be asking yourself the question, is there somebody else who could do this? Is this the best use of my time? You want to be doing this because the things that matter most should not be at the mercy of the things that matter least, as the saying goes. So you want to ensure that you're not just spending your time on the last minute requests that are coming in for you to do something from somebody else. And note, I'm not saying that when it is that you're at work and somebody comes to you and they ask you for assistance with a particular project, that it's not important to be a team player and you're to tell your supervisor that no, you have other things working on. All I'm saying is you have to be careful about the activities that are in this area, because if it is that you spend most of your time doing things that are urgent but they're not important, at the end of the day you can be super busy but at the same time not super productive. So you want to look at whether or not every single time your phone pings, you take up your phone and you're checking the emails. Is there a particular time of day that you could reserve for checking your emails? Because every single time the phone rings and you decide that you're going to take that call, or every single time somebody stops by your cube and you decide you're going to have that conversation, or every single time there's a demand for something on your immediate time and you stop to give effort to that, you may find that you end up being busy but you're not super productive. So in quadrant 4, you're gonna find the things that are not important and not urgent. And this is where you need to be careful, because this is a quadrant of time wasting. In this quadrant, you want to be careful that you're not hanging out here too long. As much as spending time doing escape activities like watching mindless TV, scrolling on your social media feed, whether it's Instagram or Twitter and so on and so forth, you binging Netflix, you want to be careful that even though it's okay to spend some of your downtime doing some of these activities, you want to ensure that you don't start mindlessly scrolling on Instagram and Twitter or YouTube, and before you know it, you look up and 2 hours have passed, 3 hours have passed, and you've not done anything. The danger of this area again is that you spend so much time in quadrant 4 on things that are neither urgent nor important that you miss the opportunity to spend time on, say, quadrant 2, which are the things that are important but not urgent. And note, I'm not saying that we can't have downtime, but what you really don't want to do is to go on Twitter or go on Instagram or go on Facebook, and before you know it, 3-4 hours pass and you're sitting there and you've not accomplished anything when you have other important things to do. So that's the danger of spending too much time in quadrant 4 with the things that are not important and not urgent. For the 4 quadrants that I've shared with you, quadrant 1, where you have the big ticket items such as the things that are important and urgent, or quadrant 2, where you have the things that are important but not urgent, quadrant 3, the things that are urgent but not important, and quadrant 4, the things that are neither urgent nor important. Where are you spending your time?